Ben McKee, West Rucker, Go Vols 24/7 here at Lindsey Nelson Stadium following Tennessee's 10-6 win over the Cincinnati Bearcats. The score much closer than the game actually played out. Tennessee was the much better baseball team. Cincinnati did fight, and they made several plays as well. Tennessee didn't completely blow them out of the water, but Tennessee was better than Cincinnati by 4 runs is my point, and a big reason why. The offense got going. Offense stays hot. A lot to talk about there, but I think you got to start with Marcus Phillips, and yes, what he was able to do from a pitching standpoint, but as Cincinnati's head coach talked about, kind of watching him on film, you've been able to see that he's gotten much better controlling the run game the last couple of weeks, and it paid off in a really, really big way today, picking off Carrington Cross there in the 5th inning. And Cincinnati had a couple stolen bases, but not as much as we've seen against Phillips in the past.
Yeah, we never – you talk to a reporter, like we feel like we never quite get enough time post-game to ask everything we want to ask because there's just a million questions, right? We only have X amount of time, especially because they play again tomorrow. But I really wanted to ask Vitello tonight, did he, if Phillips had not been just markedly better the past couple of weeks, or at least better enough, would he have felt comfortable enough to go make that move? But he had been better, and he made that move. And there in the 3rd inning, first inning a little rough, couldn't really find the slider. It happens. 2nd inning, back-to-back walks to open the inning. Both of them score because that's what baseball does to you. But after that, he really, really dialed in, and I thought he was really, really good for Tennessee. And you give these things are always second guess and third guess, right? I mean, do you go with Doyle and then Phillips then Doyle? Why are you bringing Russell in with a 5-run lead? Why are you making this move? They've made the moves they've made, and they're 1 win away from a super regional. So I think they've gotten the calls right because their players have gone out there and made them right.
They have, and 3 wins away from Omaha at this point, if you wanted to get really optimistic. But obviously nobody thinking about Omaha at this very moment. Marcus Phillips, really good, as we talked about. A.J. Russell, really good. And I was going to touch on something that you brought up there at the end is fair to have those conversations going into the weekend, but at this point, you got to tip your hat to Tony Vitello and his coaching staff, and he talked about it post-game that they've reached the point as to where it almost sounded like, and I think part of this is what you're talking about, they feel better about Marcus controlling the running game to where they don't really care about the matchup. They trust both guys, Liam Doyle and Marcus Phillips.
Yeah, I think after the season is a better time to sit back and reflect on the decisions that you made and whether they were right. Because I think regardless of how this thing goes for Tennessee, enough things were problematic at times this season that they'll want to go back and Monday morning quarterback that and try to make sure they get everything cleaned up as best they can. But this time of year especially, it is so hard to think about everything in the present and in the future in this game. Once you make a decision, you can't go back and second guess that. Like, you make that decision and you're looking forward, right? Like, you don't have a rearview mirror this time of year because it doesn't do you any good, doesn't do your players any good. You make the decision and then you go, and then you don't look back. And that's what they've done. And, they've gotten a lot more right than wrong, I think.
They have, and that's why they're a win away from that super regional. A.J. Russell comes in and fastball, or not the fastball, just the command was a little bit sporadic, but made plenty of pitches to have a strong outing. Defense and error leads to some funkiness in the 9th inning. Brendan Arvidsson has to come in, picks up a big strikeout, so a good day for the pitching staff, even if there were 6 runs up on the board. With the offense, it was obviously a very good day. 10 runs. I don't know how many hits they ended up having. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, but your big boppers do what you need your big boppers to do this time of year. And kudos to Dean Curley. He set the tone for the day. And just on the human element side, it's as the bug attacks me.
That's right. I was trying to read the print over there for the hit numbers, and I'm getting old quick, man. I couldn't see anything.
Well, you talk about how awesome Dean Curley was today, and I'll check that box score.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, with Curley, we all know what kind of a season it's been, right? Like, we don't, you can say, it's not been exactly what you want, but has it been bad? Has it just been average? What's it been? For whatever reason, when he's made mistakes defensively, they have tended to just be at the worst time, and that's just what life does to you sometimes. But the good thing about Dean Curley, the best thing about him, other than like his natural ability to play the game, is how just mentally he is. He just comes back the next day and he's ready to play. And that's something that again, once he gets, a little older and gets into the professional level, that mindset is just going to be really, really good for him, because baseball is a game that is hard, and it does things to you over 3 or 4 weeks, where if you're a pro, it's not the end of the world. If you're in college, you have these things happen. It's a sprint. The whole season is, so it can really be a tough deal. And the numbers may not average out by the end of the year, but look at people's batting average, for instance, and things like that. But I think Tony Vitello has never wavered on him. And I think that speaks to who he is as a coach. Again, he doesn't look in the rear view. This is his guy. He wants him out there. He puts him out there, and he's just barreled baseballs today.
Well, and it would be silly to bench Dean Curley. All the bench Dean Curley conversations were silly because he's been hitting the baseball really well for several weeks now. Like you just said, it was a matter of should he be in the field or not. The people who were calling for him to be on the bench completely were just out of their mind, quite frankly.
They can't read numbers.
12 hits for Tennessee tonight to score 10 runs. And there were several guys who had big nights. Gavin Keelan, a 4-hit night, 4 for 6, 3 runs. Andrew Fisher, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. We mentioned Dean, he was 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs, hit a home run. And then Cannon Peebles, 2 for 5. And now he has 4 doubles in the last 2 games. This weekend in the Knoxville Regional, and I think you got to feel really good if you're a Tennessee fan. I know that's easy to say. Tennessee's 2-0. Somebody's got to beat them twice now. But what I mean is, like, this offense is in a really good place. It's been in a really good place at the tail end of SEC play, which is the best competition you're going to face. And now they're picking on these mid-majors of sorts, and you're seeing the gap in talent, I think. And Cincinnati was already kind of struggling with having enough pitching tonight. By the time Wake Forest and Cincinnati play another game tomorrow at noon, an elimination game, and then they have to turn around and beat Tennessee twice, with the way this offense is swinging the bat, I mean, you've got to feel really, really confident if you're a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, and I think I need to double check this. Again, this is great journalism, but I think that's 5 multi-hit games in the past 7 games for Peebles, I think. I mean, his batting
Feels
average,
like
I mean, he's up to like 265 or something now hitting the ball, and that doesn't look great, but remember where it was. Like, he's been doing really, really well lately. And
for a catcher, that is a good number.
Yeah, I mean, and he had a pass ball tonight that you don't like, but he's also made a lot of plays for Tennessee, and I think that's fine. That's baseball. But, it's interesting. You make the comment about the SEC. What I think is interesting is if you look around the country, Ben, it hasn't been quite as SEC dominant maybe as we thought it would be in these regionals. So I think as much as, like, you talk about the talent edge, and it is, right? The SEC is the most talented conference, there's no question. But I think there's something to be said for a little bit of postseason experience too, like the vibe, the DNA of a program. And Tennessee, listen, they got to win one more or whatever or else the season's over, right? You got to go win one in the next 2
games to win one.
But I mean, this is a program that's been to 5. If they get one more win, that's 5 consecutive super regionals, right? These guys are proven postseason winners. It's kind of just baked into the cake now with these guys that they are going to end postseason games with more runs than you. And I think that's, even though they've replaced a lot of guys, there's still enough guys on this team that kind of have that about them, and they have not flinched this week. And even, the last 2 runs there that scored for Tennessee, I think were a freshman. 3 freshmen contributed to that. Levi Clark, great at bat with a single. Abernathy comes in and runs for him, and then Merrim with a great piece of 2-strike. One situational. He just did what he needed to do, right? And Tennessee did not. The veterans hadn't done that earlier in the game, and he went out there and did that there in that spot, and that was a big moment for him. But when you build what they've built over there now, nothing's foolproof, but they just believe they're going to win these games. And I think one of the best things we heard all night was Peebles after the game when he's talking about his numbers going up this time of year again, and he said, if you don't think it's going to get better, it's not going to get better. And I think that's, again, you get back to Quentin Eberhardt with the mental stuff with this program. I just think, listen, they make mistakes, and that's what they're going to do because that's just part of this team's DNA. But as the year's gone on, the past couple of weeks especially, they're starting to be tougher than they are dumb in cases. And that's what you got to be, right? Roger Allen Wade, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. These guys have been really, really tough.
Tennessee will be back in action tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock, once again, assuming we don't have any weather, which you never know this baseball season, apparently. Again, Tennessee will play the winner of tomorrow's noon elimination game between Wake Forest and Cincinnati. Whoever wins is going to have to beat Tennessee twice. If Tennessee loses tomorrow night, then they'll come back for Game 7 at some point on Monday. Of course, Tennessee now 1 win away from Super Regional play, and we've got all of your Tennessee baseball coverage.
We
don't know who's pitching. I would bet it's Tegan Kuhn since we saw Brandon Arvidsson. It was one batter, but I think they'll kind of stick with what they've been doing. Tony said that seemed genuine, that he did not know what they were going to do. But considering AJ and Arvidsson pitched today, I'd be surprised if we did not see Tegan. Yeah. So make sure you're locked into GoVols247.com. For all of your busy football recruiting news. It's a big football weekend and, of course, a big weekend for baseball as well. And we'll have you updated when Tennessee announces who will be pitching tomorrow against whoever Tennessee plays tomorrow evening. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.